Why poor people are particularly vulnerable. In addition to people who live in areas below sea level, who else do you think is particularly vulnerable to climate change? People living in poverty all over the world. And not just because of the heat waves talked about earlier. As more severe weather makes growing crops more challenging, food prices are expected to go up, making it harder for poor people everywhere to afford the food needed to feed themselves and their families. People with fewer resources are also less able to adapt to climate change. For example, poorer families are a lot less likely than middle class or wealthier families to have the option of moving to cooler climates or areas with lower risk of floods or heat waves or air pollution. Families with fewer resources are also less likely to have things like air conditioning that help blunt the worst effects of heat waves, as tragically seen in the Chicago heat waves mentioned earlier. Poor families are less likely to be able to modify their homes to make them more resistant, better protected, to floods and wildfires, even as floods and wildfires are expected to become more common. As just one example, in 2005, the people who were hit hardest by Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans and other parts of the Gulf Coast were twice as likely to be poor and twice as likely to not have a car compared with the national average, meaning they were less able to fortify their homes, to escape before Hurricane Katrina hit, or to seek refuge elsewhere after the storm had destroyed their homes. It's also harder for poor families to move away from places with lots of air pollution or persistent smog, putting them, and particularly their kids, more at risk for asthma and for other pollution-related health challenges. In fact, kids from poorer families already suffer from asthma at a higher rates than the national average.